There is a hole in the ground. It is dry. There is no water in it. And at the bottom of that hole is a 17-year-old boy. His brothers are eating bread 30 feet above him. He can hear them. He can hear them laughing. His name is Joseph, son of Jacob, son of Isaac, son of Abraham. And what is happening to him right now is not random. It is not an accident. It is the beginning of a story that will change the entire ancient world. But here is what nobody tells you about the story of Joseph. It does not begin with a coat. It begins with something far more dangerous. It begins with what his father said. To understand why Joseph ends up in a pit, we have to go back one generation, maybe two. Jacob, the man who will become Israel, had 12 sons by 4 different women. 4 women, 12 sons, 1 household. If you think that sounds like a pressure cooker, you are reading the text correctly. But there is one son who stands apart. One son born to Rachel, the wife Jacob actually loved, the wife he worked 14 years for, and that son's name is Joseph. Now the text says something devastating in Genesis 37 verse 3. Listen carefully. Now Israel loved Joseph more than any of his other sons, because he had been born to him in his old age, and he made an ornate robe for him. Loved him more. The text does not soften this, it does not qualify it. Jacob loved Joseph more than any of his other sons, and then he made it visible, public, wearable. That robe, the famous robe we translate as coat of many colors, the Hebrew word is ketonet passim. Here is what we do know. The same phrase, ketonet passim, appears only one other time in the entire Hebrew Bible. So Jacob did not just give his son a pretty coat, he dressed his son in the garment of royalty. He was saying, "This one will be in charge of you." When his brothers saw that their father loved him more than any of them, they hated him and could not speak a kind word to him. Could not speak a kind word to him. In Hebrew, lo yachlu dabro le shalom. They could not speak to him in peace. Between Joseph and his brothers, nothing was whole. Nothing was at peace.
Now into this already explosive situation. A favored son, 10 resentful brothers, a father playing visible favorites. God does something that will either sound wonderful or absolutely baffling, depending on how you read it. He gives Joseph dreams. Not quiet, private, keep this to yourself dreams. Dramatic, specific. This is what I am going to do with your life dreams. And then Joseph tells his brothers about them.
Genesis 37, verses 6 and 7. Joseph says to his brothers, "Listen to this dream I had. We were binding sheaves of grain out in the field, when suddenly my sheaf rose and stood upright, while your sheaves gathered around mine and bowed down to it." His brothers said to him, "Do you intend to reign over us? Will you actually rule us?" And they hated him all the more because of his dream and what he had said.
Now, here is a question that the text invites us to ask. Was Joseph wise to tell them this? The honest answer is probably not. Some argue Joseph was naive. Some argue he was arrogant. Some argue God was using even Joseph's imperfection to set the story in motion. What is not debated is the result. His brothers hated him more. Then Joseph had a second dream, and this time he told his father too. When he told his father as well as his brothers, his father rebuked him and said, "What is this dream you had?" His father kept the matter in mind. Jacob knows something about God-given dreams, but his brothers, they are past listening. The kindling has been laid. All it needs now is a spark. Jacob sends Joseph north to check on his brothers. Shechem already carries blood in this family's history. This is not safe territory for the sons of Jacob. But Joseph obeys his father, and he goes anyway. But they saw him in the distance, and before he reached them, they plotted to kill him. Here comes that dreamer. In Hebrew, Baal ha-chalomot, literally, master of dreams. They mean it as mockery. But by the end of Joseph's life, that title will become true. But one brother hesitates, Reuben. Let's not take his life. Reuben secretly plans to rescue Joseph later. Joseph finally arrives. Hands grab him. The robe is ripped away. Then they throw him into the pit. And Genesis adds one final detail so cold. They sit down to eat.
While the brothers sit above the pit, a caravan appears in the distance. Ishmaelite traders, moving south toward Egypt. And Judah has an idea. What will we gain if we kill our brother and cover up his blood? Judah frames the conversation around profit. But even here he says, he is our brother. So they pull Joseph out of the pit and sell him. 20 shekels of silver, the price of a young slave. And then comes the deception.
The brothers slaughter a goat, dip the robe in blood, and bring it back to Jacob.
We found this. Examine it. See whether it is your son's robe. And Genesis says, he recognized it. Of course he recognized it. He made it. Jacob tears his garments, and he mourns for many days. I will go down to the grave mourning for my son.
And this is where the story changes. Not from suffering to victory, not yet. From tragedy to theology. Genesis closes the chapter with a sentence so brief you could almost miss its importance. The Midianites sold Joseph in Egypt to Potiphar. The dreamer has been sold. The robe lies soaked in blood. The father is broken. The brothers are hiding behind lies. Everything appears to have gone wrong. But Genesis is quietly introducing one of the great theological refrains of Scripture.
2 Hebrew words, Vayehi Adonai, and the Lord was with Joseph. The pit could not cancel the promise. Slavery could not erase the calling. The defining truth of Joseph's life was not the betrayal around him. It was the presence beside him. The Lord was with Joseph so that he prospered. The same boy stripped of his robe, thrown into a pit, sold for silver, is now entrusted with an Egyptian household. Not because the suffering vanished, but because the God who gave him those dreams never abandoned him in the darkness. And that is the theological heart of Joseph's story. God does not always prevent the pit, but God is present in it, and somehow he uses it.
Joseph is in Egypt. His story is just beginning. Ahead of him, a woman who will lie about him, a prison that will forget him, a dream that will free him, and a reunion that will break him open completely.
But it all starts here, in a pit, with a boy whose brothers hated him, not simply because of a coat, because of what the coat meant, because of what his father said with that coat, because of what God had whispered to him in the night.
The coat was never the cause. It was the symbol of something much older, much deeper. The fatal combination of a father's favoritism, a son's unchosen gifts, and 10 brothers with nowhere left to put their pain. If this opened something up for you, share it. We'll see you in episode 2.